This week on the Internet Cafe, space science on the web. Interested in the search for ETs, we'll show you the SETI site, the model for the sci-fi movie Contact. This is the website for the Exploratorium, where you can watch a solar eclipse in real time. Dr. Isabel Hawkins is a UC Berkeley astronomer who's moving her lectures to the web. This is the face on Mars. Is it a message from an ancient Martian civilization? We'll try to find out on this website. And want to go to the moon? This is the next best thing, the NASA Ames website with the world's largest collection of lunar photos. Space science on the web this week at the Internet Cafe.
The Internet Cafe is brought to you by Z-Auction, the live online shopping experience. Additional funding from PC Connection and Mac Connection, the catalog and online superstore with PC and Mac products, toll-free technical support, and overnight delivery. And by Windows Magazine, delivering desktop, enterprise, and internet computing news, reviews, features, and how-tos for a Windows world, because the world runs on Windows. Additional funding from SoftSource Incorporated, publishers of Pro One software, educational software for young adults.
So, Andrew, just you and me here at Cybersmith. Jane's off in Europe somewhere. She's left it all to us here.
Well, it's better than off in space somewhere.
Good segue, good segue. Space science on the web, that's what we're talking about. Were you into this as a kid? Are you into this stuff now?
Well, I'll tell you, as a kid, I was sort of into it. I got up 5 o'clock one morning to look at Comic Kahootek. I couldn't actually see it. Got into high school and that. I didn't do very well in science, so I'm happy the web is here now because it's a chance to redeem myself, learn some of the science that I missed.
Well, I was really into this stuff and still am into this stuff. I just wish I had the web when I was a kid because I used to run down to the planetarium every Saturday and study the stars, and space program was my cup of tea, and the moon program and all that stuff. I just really love it.
You wanted to be an astronaut?
Absolutely. Matter of fact, I applied for the journalist and space program.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
They never picked one, but I have my little certificate. Very proud. This is really going to be a lot of fun because the space science stuff is cool, and there's also space science fiction. Sometimes you're not sure on the web, which side it's on, but we're going to find out.
Now, I love the Planet of the Apes, too. Is anything that kind of science fiction?
Well, there's something for you, too. There's actually going to be a Planet of the Apes angle. You've got to watch very closely during the next half hour. All right, Peter, you're a research scientist with SETI. Of course, that's the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. Yes. And you guys run a website so people can sort of keep track of what you're doing. What do you really do on the website? What can I find out about what's going on at SETI if I log on to your website?
Well, you can find out all sorts of things about the SETI Institute. We have 36 projects studying all aspects of life in the universe. Mm-hmm. We have some background information about the general field of the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, some of the history, some of the background, the physics involved, connections to other websites that deal with this. But
I can't get in there and listen myself like you
Well,
guys.
unfortunately, our project, Project Phoenix, that is operating right now, we don't have the bandwidth or the personnel to really support displaying real-time information. We hope to, in the future, add some capability to at least let people know which stars and which frequencies we're observing, but the amount of data we process is just beyond any network capability.
Peter, most people's knowledge of SETI comes from the movies, Contact, and watching Jodie Foster and that kind of stuff. Was that a realistic representation of what you really do?
It really was very accurate. We actually provided some advice on how to set things up, how to run the observations, and
it was reasonably science-based.
It was fairly accurate, except that we don't sit on the hoods of our convertibles in the desert with earphones.
Right.
We let the computers do all the listening and analyzing the signals as they come in.
Now, what is the process? Suppose something happens and a computer finds something significant. Does a red light go off? I mean, how do you guys know this could be something different?
Well, we have a bell go off. The computer terminal rings a bell, and we have pagers if we're out of the office or observatory. We come in, we run tests right away, interactively. If it passes our test, then we start contacting other observatories. Right. Just like in the movie, we start doing the internet, contacting other observatories to have immediate confirmation
and you have
if
occasional
possible.
false alarms or things that may be yes, maybe no?
Well, we actually set our thresholds for qualifying a signal at a level where once a week or so we get something that's interesting and gets our attention, gets our adrenaline flowing.
Now, what's really interesting, and you've talked about it a bit on your website, is what happens when you find it? What do you do then? Is there a strategy? Is there a book somewhere that says, here's how you release the information? Because this is big stuff.
Well, our basic rule is try to get the information out as widely and as quickly as possible. One of the means we'd use is the International Astronomical Union. This is a way we can notify all the major astronomy departments and observatories around the world. But meantime, we would be organizing press conferences at all of the institutions and observatories that were involved in the search, the detection, and the confirmation, so that hopefully within about 24 hours we would be able to hand out all of the materials to the press and get the message out.
Everybody be on the internet trying to figure out what's going on here.
We'd be trying to set up mirrors for our website.
Right. Now, what would the it be, Peter? I mean, what would you announce? Something happens, it's significant, and meets your standards. You hold that press conference and you say what?
We would be able to say that we have detected a signal that appears to be of artificial origin coming from the direction of a particular star We would say what the frequency of that signal was, where to tune on the radio dial, and what other characteristics we could measure about the signal, how strong it was, whether there was any modulation, whether there was a message that we could begin to decode. I don't know if we'd have that information in 24 hours, but we would give out as much information as possible, because this is something that people want to know.
Now, I saw on your website there's something called Design Your Own SETI project. What is that?
It's an interactive game. We just started this a little while ago, and it's designed for about high school level, I'd say, for kids to go in and try and figure out how you would go about doing a search for extraterrestrial intelligence.
All right, now I want to ask you, Peter, before I let you go, I've got to get your opinion on this. Is this something going to happen in your lifetime as a research scientist at SETI? Are you going to hear that beep that means something?
Well, most astronomers involved in the search predict that the signal will appear sometime during their career.
And better.
That's what we all hope, but it's impossible to really predict.
Yeah. Is it out there?
I certainly expect that there are other civilizations out there. Whether we can detect them, that's the real question.
Just keep watching SETI-inst.edu.
That's right.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Jim, you're our eclipse expert from the Exploratorium. I think it was about a month ago there was an eclipse down somewhere in the Caribbean that you guys went and actually chronicled and put up on the web for people. How do you take a dynamic, exciting live event like that, a natural phenomenon, and put it on the web and make it both kind of entertaining and interesting for people?
Well, to do it in real time, which is what we wanted to do with a webcast.
So it was a live webcast.
We had a lot of different elements. We needed to have a crew to go down there and shoot the eclipse with telescopes to get close enough to actually provide really good footage. And then we also needed a satellite link back to the Exploratorium in San Francisco, so then we could send it out all over the web.
So this was a major undertaking. You would almost think you could have done a link from down there, but you actually had to beam it back and then get it to go.
Yeah, as it turned out, Aruba wasn't very wired.
Yeah,
so we had to get a satellite, and NASA helped provide us with a satellite link. And
so you actually partnered with NASA for this project.
Yeah, we're
good partner if you're looking for some technology.
They're a great partner, and especially they have the sort of the same goals we do as far as trying to teach people about science. So NASA helped provide a satellite link, and we're hooked up with them with what they call their Sun-Earth Education Forum.
Okay, now during this live broadcast, I heard you guys got a little fame, actually. You must have been one of the only groups that were actually down there filming it, and the video was picked up in a lot of other places.
Yeah, the feed wound up on CNN International. It wound up on ABC, NBC, Fox, all local affiliates all over the country. We were rather astounded with the amount of play.
So the web was really influencing TV at that point.
Yeah, well, it was interesting. The links came first from CNN.com and ABC and other places like that, and then I think they found out about the event. They knew what we were doing. We even had our satellite transponder information on the web, and these organizations picked up our signal, and they managed to get the live eclipse feed all over the world, as we did on the internet.
Right. Now, the goal of something like this, obviously, is to entertain, but it's also to educate. And I'm just kind of wondering what you had to think about to put up on that site that doesn't make it too scientific, makes it both fun and entertaining.
Well, an eclipse is a really powerful, very beautiful natural phenomenon, so it's a wonderful catalyst for teaching about science. But we also wanted to talk a little bit about the sort of human history behind eclipses, and we've provided some of that on the site as well. So there's information about eclipses in literature, even some very beautiful photographic prints from the 19th century, eclipse expedition information from the 19th century. So we tried to bring a lot of historical information and put a human face on it.
People were checking these things out way before there was any kind of internet going on. What about future projects, future things that obviously there'll be more eclipses? When is the next eclipse, and what are you guys going to put online?
Well, the next one's in Europe in August in 1999. We're not sure whether we're going to cover it yet.
Okay.
We're still kind of going back and forth.
Where in Europe is this going to be?
It's going to go all the way from the southern tip of Britain right through the continent and comes all the way out in Turkey. So it's a lot of Europe is going to be able to see.
I'll plan my vacation.
Yeah, it'd be a wonderful place to go.
And so you guys are thinking of putting that up online?
Yeah, we'd like to. We're not sure yet. We definitely plan on doing a lot more live events, whether they're all going to be eclipse events or
You're staking out some other natural phenomenon?
Well, there's few natural phenomena that are that stunning.
Okay.
Or that work kind of like clockwork, like an eclipse does. But we're thinking about doing live volcanoes, things that are catalysts for science that get people interested and get them in the front door, so to speak, to start looking at science and thinking about science.
All right. Well, when you put that live volcano on, I'll come online. Thanks, Jim.
All right, Dr. Hawkins, you're involved in the Space Sciences Lab education website run by UC Berkeley. Where did this all come from? What's the story of this? How did this happen?
Well, basically, the Space Sciences Laboratory is one of 4 major centers of NASA-sponsored space science education around the country. we're working within one particular theme of NASA research called the Sun-Earth connection, which is basically what effects does the active sun have on the Earth and the other planets around the solar system. And so we have a partner at the Goddard Space Flight Center with which we work very closely together.
All right, I went onto your site and I thought it was great. I mean, I love this stuff, but it was so well done. It was chock full of information, no wasted stuff. It was quick, it was there, it was easy to find. I really enjoyed it. Who is it aimed at, though? Is this really designed to help teachers in the school environment teach space sciences to kids, or is it for just people like me at home or my kid?
I think it's for both. We try and tailor our resources to serve a general public audience. So if you're interested in, say, comets or some other astronomical object, particularly with some of these natural events, you know, Comet Hale-Bopp that came around a year and a half ago, then you can look at our site and find some self-guided modules that will give you basic information on it, but also give you access to the cutting-edge NASA research that's being done right now.
Well, let's talk about the comet part, because I took a look at it. That was really great. All kinds of stuff there. Now, is that designed really to educate kids about the science behind that, or to keep them just abreast of what's going on in current events with the science of, as you say, the Hale-Bopp comets and other things like that?
I think that you need to excite students with current research and with the possibilities of what are the current discoveries. I think that's very important. And that's where the kind of research that's being done at the Space Sciences Laboratory comes into play. But also you need to give them some basic information. Where's the scaffolding that needs to be there so that they have enough background to understand the cutting edge research? So we try to give a little bit of both.
Oh, yeah, the killer comet section there, of course, because that's in the news. You know, monster comets are going to come, or they killed the dinosaurs. You have the whole section on that. I mean, that's a great way to get kids engaged in this whole science, I guess, isn't it?
Yes, we actually partnered with the UC Museum of Paleontology, a graduate student who knows a lot about the competing theories of how the dinosaurs became extinct. And so we had a nice partnership there in which we combined space science and a little bit of earth science and paleontology.
That was great. The kids hear about, you know, some comet that's going to crash into the Earth in 30 years or something. They can actually go there and find out the science behind all this stuff. Now, there's another section I really liked. There's a big section called Segway, I guess, which is what, Science Education Gateway?
Yes, it's actually a national collaboration between science museums, such as the Exploratorium, Lawrence Hall of Science, and the Air and Space Museum, which are very much in the cutting edge of adapting materials that are very researchy and making them accessible to the general public and to teachers both. So we work with them in combination. So we have a team of teachers, scientists, and science educators from the museums to adapt the current research that's being done by NASA and other projects, adapt it and convert it into something that's very much attuned to the needs of the classroom and the needs of students at various grade levels.
Well, it's a great site. I think it's great for kids. It's great for grown-ups. So I'm impressed with it. I hope our folks will check it out. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here.
We're talking with Larry Magid, who is a syndicated columnist for the Los Angeles Times and also Home PC Magazine. We're talking about space sites on the web and space exploration. You know, these sites have a lot of dynamic content, videos and audio and things up there. Can you just jump right on and see them, or is it tougher than it looks?
Well, you're not going to blast into the outer space sites as quickly as you might want to, because there's some bandwidth issues. I mean, a lot of these sites have very, very large video files, audio files. Even some of the still images are just enormous. Some of these pictures of the moon and Mars and whatever.
Right, there was a lunar eclipse site. I think it was 10 minutes.
I know, that can take, yeah, it could be excruciating. You know, go out for lunch while you're waiting for a download.
Right.
So you have to be careful if you've got a 28.8 modem and keep your expectations in check.
Okay. Now, as far as bandwidth goes, is there going to be a time when the bandwidth will catch up, that we'll be able to, you know, really see these things live?
Bandwidth is beginning to get better. I have a cable modem where I live where I get a megabit per second, which is like 20 times faster than the average 56K modem.
Right.
But even on my system, it's sometimes slow because some of these sites have a lot of material. Sometimes the server is congested. Sometimes there's congestion on a router somewhere on the internet. So even with high bandwidth, it's not going to be perfect. Plus, as people get more bandwidth in the home, the multimedia sites are going to try to offer more and more rich multimedia experiences. So there'll be a little bit of a chicken and egg situation.
The competition, and so
that's right.
You think it may be better to still just go watch it in the movies where you can see the real effects?
Well, I just say that the internet is a great place to look at outer space, but it's not going to be the rocket trip that you may have expected it to be, at least not quite yet.
Well, there's obviously lots of great space science on the web, but there's also a lot of very interesting science fiction on the web. We're going to try to figure out how you define that line, Dan. You're involved in something really interesting, which is called the Mars face, or the face on Mars. You are a satellite photo interpreter who's been looking at this stuff. Why don't you sort of define the issue? What are you looking for there with that?
What we're looking for is evidence pro or con artificiality. The face
artificiality meaning?
It is possible, we think, we have hypothesized, that certain landforms that appeared in photographs sent back by the Viking mission of NASA in 1976 may be of artificial origin.
Meaning creatures, intelligent forms,
we have no
other
idea.
than the wind or whatever made them.
We have no idea.
What leads you to think that could be possible in the example of the Mars face?
Well, the Mars face has the appearance of a humanoid face, or at least 2/3 of a humanoid face. It has all the correct proportions. It has some fascinating details, such as a headpiece, stripes across the forehead, a very highly detailed eye socket with a pupil, and evidently teeth in the mouth.
Yeah, it looks like a head. We should mention that there are pictures of this on the web, which is why we're talking about it.
Yes.
And there is the McDanielReport.com website,
Right.
in which you can go and see these actual pictures and see what the head looks like and the face and so on. Now, there are things besides the face that you have seen there also that makes you think about it. What are they?
There are about a dozen objects in that same region, the Cydonia region in the northern part of Mars, that relate to the face in some very intriguing ways, with certain geometric alignments, solstice alignments, and so forth.
Again, indicating some sort of intelligent organization there.
There seems to be some intentional relationship. Whether this is just a highly improbable set of relationships that happen to be created by nature, we can't say for sure. But statistically, the balance of evidence weighs in favor of possible artificiality.
Now, how controversial is this Mars face and the city and the fortress and the pyramids and so on we see there? I mean, does NASA have a position, or is this just a bunch of private guys who are exploring it, as is usually the case here?
Well, NASA's official position since 1976 has been a skeptical one. Our study is completely independent of NASA. But the skepticism at NASA and in the scientific community in general is beginning to soften considerably. As you may know, there is a NASA mission at Mars presently that's just coming into its mapping orbit. Over the next weeks and months, we should be getting back the first very high-resolution pictures of this particular area of Mars. And we're all waiting with bated breath to see the results.
So you think... I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, because everyone agrees that high-resolution photography will probably settle the issue once and for all.
So do you think it's the face, it's maybe the ice, it's maybe the microbes that you're starting to gather some circumstantial evidence here?
I think it's all working together. Things which were not thinkable, say, even 5 years ago, are thinkable now. The conversation can now include... previously, the classic SETI project, S-E-T-I project, involved the theory that alien civilizations would be sending radio waves out into space. Well, we've broadened our idea of SETI considerably since then. The radio studies continue to go on, but our organization deals with what we call planetary SETI, which is possible evidence of artifacts on neighboring
Now, is
bodies.
NASA cooperating with you? As you say, there's a mission underway now. Are they helping you figure this stuff out, or are they saying you guys are a bunch of wackos?
Well, what's happened very recently is that we've developed a very cordial relationship with NASA. And we hope to work together with them in interpreting the photos that come back from this forthcoming mission. And who knows, in the event that we find something that is incontrovertibly of artificial origin, we believe that we could be of great help to them in interfacing with the public on the issue.
Quickly, what's your personal view? What do you think about this?
I think if you lay all the evidence on the table, that if what we find there is totally natural, it would be really remarkable.
No kidding, yeah. All right, if people want to see this stuff and dig deeper, McDanielReport.com is a good place to start, and that'll link you to lots of other websites.
Absolutely.
Fascinating stuff, Dan. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Ken, you're with the NASA Ames Research Center, and you have, I think, a very interesting job chronicling the Lunar Prospector mission. A lot of people don't know it, but it's actually the first lunar mission in the last 25 years. What are some of the things you're chronicling on this mission, and what it really is the mission all about?
Well, Lunar Prospector is the first mission, as you said, in 25 years to go back to the moon. We are globally mapping all the resources of the moon. We're finding minerals, elements, gases, lunar ice, which we've just discovered, various other things.
So you guys are actually taking photos of these things, or how does it work?
We have no cameras. We have, the scientific instruments are 3 spectrometers, a magnetometer, electron reflectometer, and we're also doing a gravity experiment with the radio.
Okay, so you're actually getting data back, and that's being recorded and being figured out. Now, you mentioned you guys found ice on the moon.
Right.
This was something I think people didn't know existed before. How did you find it, and what does it really mean?
Well, there was a Department of Defense satellite, Clementine, that went there about 5 years ago, and there was a hint that there might have been ice at the poles. This is the first hint that there might be ice on the moon. And we specifically were looking at the poles in darkened craters who are perpetually in shadow to see if we could find this ice.
Now, what is this, a lot of ice? Are we talking big fields of ice, mountains, what?
Well, it sounds like a lot.
Right.
There's something like on the order of 50 to 100 million tons, metric tons of ice.
Sounds like a lot.
But these are very, very tiny ice crystals mixed into the dirt, and you couldn't see it if you looked at it.
Okay.
So it's very, very...
So no skiing or anything like
no
that on the moon right now. Now, this site has a ton of information on it. I think you had mentioned to me that it's actually, you'd like it to be one of the largest archives of moon or lunar-related information. What else is on there that you think is really sort of special?
Well, what I wanted to do was not just have a site about Lunar Prospector. I wanted to have a foundation that could surround this, and you could really, if you wanted to find out about some aspect of lunar science that came up, you could go to the same site and find out about it. So we have an archives. Right now there's several 100,000 images. It's the largest archive in the world. We have full-length movies. We have video clips. We have audio clips. We have books, interactive books that you can go through.
Yeah, and also some very interesting, sort of the latest technology. I saw the QuickTime videos and things like that.
Yes, we have a QuickTime virtual reality of the spacecraft when it was at Lockheed Martin, so you can walk 360 degrees around the spacecraft. We also have a computer model that you can tilt up and down and look all around it with the booms deployed.
Okay, now to wrap up, for the future, obviously this is going to be going on for a year, the ship flying around the moon. What other things can people track as they happen in real time?
Okay, well right now you can actually see the data coming back for the science instruments, all the spectrometers and et cetera. You can also monitor the spacecraft health when they fire a thruster to stabilize the orbit. You can see the thruster temperature go up. When the spacecraft goes in shadow and the solar cells are not producing electricity, you can see the electricity go down.
So you're really part of it. Well,
yes.
Soon, hopefully, I'll be able to go fly it. So I'll have to keep my eye on it. Now, if you were paying careful attention to what we talked about, you saw Planet of the Apes angle that you asked me about at the very beginning of the program. In the Face of Mars stuff, I was talking to this guy, Daniel, and they're analyzing these pictures from the NASA Mars probe.
Right.
I mean, I never heard about this stuff, and I'm really into it. There's this fascinating face that we talked about this on Mars, and I think it looks like a character from Planet of the Apes. I mean, they think it's a human, but I think it looks sort of like a monkey type.
They actually think that it's a real face? I mean, did they
Well,
think someone put it there?
We didn't have time to get into it. This guy, Daniel, I talked to, he gives an hour-and-a-half lecture on the subject of the Mars face, but it's kind of a Stonehenge thing. There's a lot going on there that says, this stuff, it doesn't seem like it happened by natural forces, that some intelligence put stuff on the surface.
But it's a real scientist that's actually
saying
saying
this. This is real science, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, and NASA is supporting these guys, which is really cool. What did you find out?
Well, speaking of sort of naturally occurring phenomena, talking to the folks at the Exploratorium about the solar eclipse site.
Is that cool? You can watch an eclipse on the web?
You can watch the whole thing. There's 10 minutes of video. They actually got the first video, the one that people saw around the world, so it's a very interesting site. And also the moon probe, what's going on right now.
The search for ETs, this is really great stuff. Anyhow, space science on the web, there's lots of it. We'll see you back here next week at the Internet Cafe.
The Internet Cafe is brought to you by Z-Auction, the live online shopping experience. Additional funding from PC Connection and Mac Connection, the catalog and online superstore with PC and Mac products, toll-free technical support, and overnight delivery. And by Windows Magazine, delivering desktop, enterprise, and internet computing news, reviews, features, and how-tos for a Windows world, because the world runs on Windows. Additional funding from SoftSource Incorporated, publishers of Pro One software, educational software for young adults. To purchase a videotape copy of today's program, call toll-free 1-888-310-7850. Please specify the show number and the topic.